Hey, what's up YouTube? Thank you for tuning back into our channel. My name is Anthony and today we got more interesting content for all the viewers today. Today's subject is Resident Evil 5. In 2009, 5 years after the events of Resident Evil 4, Chris Redfield, now an agent of the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance BSAA, is dispatched to Kijuju in West Africa. He and his new partner Shiva Alomar are tasked with apprehending Ricardo Irving before he can sell a bio-organic weapon, BO, on the black market. When they arrive, they discover that the locals have been infected by the parasites Las Plagas. Those infected are called Magini, and the BSAA Alpha team have been killed. Chris and Shiva are rescued by BSAA's Delta team, which includes Shiva's mentor Captain Josh Stone. In Stone's data, Chris sees a photograph of Jill Valentine, his old partner, who has been presumed dead after a confrontation with Albert Wesker. Chris, Shiva and Delta team close in on Irving, but he escapes with the aid of a hooded figure. Irving leaves behind documents that lead Chris and Shiva to Marshy Oilfields, where Irving's deal is to occur, but they discover that the documents are a diversion. When Chris and Shiva try to regroup with Delta team, they find the team slaughtered by a bow. Shiva cannot find Stone among the dead. Determined to learn if Jill is still alive, Chris does not report to headquarters. Continuing through the marsh, they find Stone and track down Irving's boat with his help. Irving injects himself with a variant of the Las Plagas parasite and mutates into a huge octopus-like beast. Chris and Shiva defeat him, and his dying words lead them to a nearby cave. The cave is the source of a flower used to create viruses previously used by the Umbrella Corporation, as well as a new strain named Uroboros. Chris and Shiva find evidence that Tricell, the company funding the BSAA, took over a former Umbrella underground laboratory and continued Umbrella's research. In the facility, they discover thousands of capsules holding human test subjects. Chris finds Jill's capsule, but it is empty. When they leave, they discover that Tricell CEO Excella John has been plotting with Wesker to launch missiles with the Uroboros virus across the globe. It is eventually revealed that Wesker hopes to take a chosen few from the chaos of infection and rule them, creating a new breed of humanity. Chris and Shiva pursue John but are stopped by Wesker and the hooded figure, who is revealed to be a brainwashed Jill. John and Wesker escape to a Tricell oil tanker. Chris and Shiva fight Jill, subduing her and removing the mind control device before she urges Chris to follow Wesker. Chris and Shiva board the tanker and encounter John, who escapes after dropping a case of syringes. Shiva keeps several. When Chris and Shiva reach the main deck, Wesker announces over the ship's intercom that he has betrayed John and infected her with Uroboros. She mutates into a giant monster, which Chris and Shiva defeat. Jill radios in, telling Chris and Shiva that Wesker must take precise, regular doses of a serum to maintain his strength and speed. A larger or smaller dose would poison him. Shiva realizes that John's syringes are doses of the drug. Chris and Shiva follow Wesker to a bomber loaded with missiles containing the Uroboros virus, injecting him with the syringes John dropped. Wesker tries to escape on the bomber. Chris and Shiva disable it, making him crash land in a volcano. Furious Wesker exposes himself to Uroboros and chases Chris and Shiva through the volcano. They fight him, and the weakened Wesker falls into the lava before Chris and Shiva are rescued by a helicopter, which is piloted by Jill and Stone. As a dying Wesker attempts to drag the helicopter into the volcano, Chris and Shiva fire rocket-propelled grenades at Wesker, killing him. In the game's final cutscene, Chris wonders if the world is worth fighting for. Looking at Shiva and Jill, he decides to live in a world without fear. In a short wrap-up summary. Sent in by the BSAA, Chris Redfield has a new mission. It takes him into South Africa where he encounters a new horror and relives an old past, and as Resident Evil 5 takes place in 2009, roughly 10 years after the events of the original Resident Evil, and 6 years after the fall of Umbrella. Chris Redfield, former STARS member and survivor of the Spencer Estate incident, is now a founding member and agent for the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, whose job is to investigate and prevent biological outbreaks like the T-virus outbreak that destroyed Raccoon City. Chris is deployed to Kijuju, Africa, to join Shiva Alomar in the apprehension of Ricardo Irving, who is attempting to smuggle and sell bio-organic weapons on the black market in Africa. The two attempt to rendezvous with the BSAA's Alpha team, who were attempting to intercept Ricardo Irving. However, the situation quickly escalates as their local contact is executed and the pair are forced to fight literal crowds of Majini.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video and please be sure to stay tuned for more gaming content on the way.